My name is Kay. I'm a compulsive overeater, and abstinence is the most important thing in my life today. And I weigh and measure 3 meals off the gray sheet, write them down, call them into my sponsor, and don't eat in between no matter what. And through God's grace, I've been able to do that since May the 30th, 1981. And that is 40 years. All of a sudden, I realized that I have been gray sheet abstinent for half of my life. I never thought when I began this journey that I would still be on this abstinent road 40 years later. The first 40 years of my life with food was all about the fight against my being fat. Until the age of 14, my mother fought the fight for me, and I fought against her efforts by sneaking food, by overeating at my grandmother's, at Girl Scout camp, at school, and anywhere I could. At the age of 14, I got away from my mother's efforts to control me and my eating by going to the convent. The order I entered had originated in Alsace-Lorraine on the border of France and Germany. They were still dressing and eating as if they needed to keep warm in Texas. We ate breakfast, dinner, lunch, and supper. We sat at tables of 8 people. Our food was served in serving dishes that we passed around the table. We could not leave the table until all the serving dishes were empty. I was surprised to find that some people said that they could not eat another bite. I said, just pass the dishes to me and I'll finish them. I never knew of a time that I could not eat another bite. The first of many, many diets using my own willpower was when I was to receive the habit to become a bride of Christ. I didn't want to wear a big, fat wedding gown, so I just quit eating so much. I refused to finish the serving dishes. I lost 50 pounds and was slim in my wedding gown. And I gained it back again and again and again and again. I lost 40 or 50 or 60 pounds 5 different times in my life. I counted calories. I read the Bible before every meal. I put bran in all my food. I was a member of Weight Watchers. I tried to model my eating after my husband's eating. He never had enough on his plate to satisfy me. And I had a bite counter. This little machine sat on the table in front of me. When I took a bite, I pushed the button and a little red light began blinking. When it stopped blinking, I could take another bite and push the button again. This was supposed to slow down my eating so that I could hear my appestat. I remember exactly the meal I was eating when I thought I heard my appestat. I said to my appestat, "Shut up." And I got up and got some more food. And it wasn't just the fat. It was also the constant food thoughts, what I would eat, what I would not eat. It was hating how I looked, not being able to find clothes that made me look thin, longing to be normal with food. But of course, my version of being normal with food was that I could eat whatever I wanted and be thin. In April 1981, my husband and I helped to give a marriage encounter weekend. During the course of the weekend, we wrote letters and shared with one another. In answer to the question, how do I think people see me and what are my deepest feelings about this, I wrote, I feel that people see me as overweight, and many wonder why I'm not trying to lose, why I don't go back to Weight Watchers or find a diet to suit me and get the ugly weight off. I feel they wonder what good I think walking is going to do if I don't also try to lose weight by eating less. I think they say it's too bad. I could look so much better, and they pity me. I'm afraid the girls are ashamed of me and scared of looking like me someday. I think Joe accepts me and loves me and wants me to lose it only if I want to. He's willing for me to be fat if that's what I want. He won't reject me, though he fears for my health, and he pushes back any wishes he might have for a slender wife. My deepest feelings right now are about my weight. I have lots of fears about it. I fear becoming fatter. I fear lack of control. I fear over control. I fear being taken over totally by concern for food and diet. I wish I never had to think about it. I wish I could lose weight effortlessly and never have to think about it again. I know I'm on the right track by walking. I know I should eat slowly. I know I should stop when I am satisfied. I know I should eat only when hungry. I know I should avoid junk and refined food. I feel helpless to do any of this except the walking. I feel the need to pray and turn it completely over to the Lord. I beg of you, Lord, to decrease my desire for food, to regulate my appetite. I want to find the last diet, so to speak, which is a way of life. I don't want any temporary measures. I don't want to lose and then gain it again. I am in your hands. I cannot seem to help myself. Please help me, Lord. That was April 1981. On May the 29th, 1981, I walked across the street to my neighbor's house where my little girl was playing. She had a friend there, a very slender, attractive woman. Of course, I had to bring up the subject of overweight. I said, "You have never had a problem with weight, have you?" She said, "Have you ever heard of Overeaters Anonymous?" I had not. She proceeded to explain the gray sheet to me. I had my first day of gray sheet abstinence on May the 30th, 1981. By God's grace, I have been abstinent since that day. And besides God's grace, what has helped me on this journey of gray sheet abstinence? I have a sponsor who I call every day, no matter what. I even called her every day when I was in the hospital after intestinal surgery, unable to eat food for 13 days. I called to say that I was not eating that day and to share some of my experiences and feelings and to keep in touch. I sponsor others. It is so important to me to have these sponsees. I remember when I was staying with my mother while moving her to assisted living. I waited by the phone to hear from my sponsees. It was a lifeline for me to hear their voices. And when I lose a sponsee, I mourn their loss and I rejoice when they return. I attend 3 meetings a week and take a service position at the meetings whenever I can. I have served as secretary on the GreySheeters Anonymous World Service Board and on the Southwest Intergroup, now called the Southern States Intergroup. Staying in the herd, being part of the group. My daughter has said, "Go be with your peeps, Mom." My family knows when my meetings are and helps me by honoring that time. My granddaughter always asks when she needs a ride, "Do you have a meeting?" I plan, prepare, and protect my abstinence. I look at the coming week. I make a grocery list. I pick out the recipes I want to make. If needed, I pack my food to have it ready. When I was working, I packed my lunches for every day on Sunday to be ready for the week. Before COVID, I packed my meals when I was going to meetings for church or for my knitting group. This year, the meetings have been on Zoom, so there were fewer meals to pack. No matter what is very important to me. As you probably know, There have been many no matter what's in 40 years. There were the many trips we took together, Joe and I, especially the group tours in Europe and in Israel, where getting my abstinent food was often difficult. There was the 5 years of hell when my beautiful daughters were rebelling against our parenting in every way they could. There was breaking my femur. There was breast cancer in 2003 and again in 2008, at the same time that my husband had brain cancer. There was the 2.5 years of Joe's brain cancer, all the trips to Houston to MD Anderson for experimental treatments, the decision to finally choose hospice, and Joe's death. There was grieving Joe's loss since 2010. There was the partial small bowel removal and hernia repair after. And now there is sciatica and other problems with aging. The most recent, no matter what, was losing power, not once, but twice. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Sorry to interrupt, 5 minutes.
Thank you. The most recent, no matter what, was losing power, not once, but twice. In February and again in May. In February, we had the big freeze in Texas. I got the inspiration to go grocery shopping for the week before the icy weather hit. I had all my abstinent food on hand, but it all had to be cooked. At my house, power went out around 9 a.m. and came back on around 1 p.m. I started cooking my protein and vegetables. Because my kitchen sink was stopped up with ice in the drain pipe, I was running back and forth to the bathroom to wash my pots, pans, and dishes. Then my power went out for 5 days. I ate my cold weighed and measured meals with flashlight and candles. I put my refrigerated food outside in waterproof bags. After 2 days and nights of being so cold, my daughter rescued me. Her electricity had not gone out. My power went out for 2 days in May due to tree limbs falling on electric wires. This time my refrigerated food went bad. I packed up the freezer food, my scale, and my cat and drove to my daughter's house again. Through all this, there is abstinence, no matter what. I have been abstinent during many joys in my life as well, big ones and small ones. My granddaughter's doing well in school this year, balancing my bank statement with my budget sheet, cooking lots of abstinent vegetables, finishing a beautiful and difficult knitted shawl, an invigorating, uplifting exercise class. I could go on and on. Abstinence is the most important thing in my life. Without abstinence, I could not give my full attention to my God, to my family, to my church community, to anything else, because all my thoughts would have been taken up with concern about food, weight, and diet. I'll end this as I ended last year's anniversary share. Did anything extraordinary happen during my 40th year of abstinence? I remained abstinent during the coronavirus pandemic. A big no matter what. Thank you.